Yeah, my colleagues, the honorable ministers, and the press, good afternoon. Today we got approval for 6 numbers of projects. The first one is the Suleja-Minna road. That was initially awarded to Salini Construction Company, and the company did a bit of the job, about 10 kilometers, and it was about 91 kilometers, from Suleja to Minna. But the ones they did, failed, almost as they were doing it. And so we looked at the project, and graciously the governor of Niger State had taken over about 20 kilometers by 2 over his renewed urban renewal project. And so that left us with 71 kilometers by 2. And I had sometimes went with the National Assembly to Minna, and we spent over 7 hours on that road. So that road was so terrible, and it was an MPC funded project. So after back and forth with the company, we decided to terminate the project. And of course, the matter is before ICPC to see if we can recover our funds. So the balance of the project, remains 71 kilometers by 2. And so the president directed that the project, if not fully constructed with concrete, it should be at least the shoulders on concrete and the main carriageway also reworked on asphalt. And that's what we've done. And so we presented a number of companies to BPP, and CGC won the one carriageway, 71 kilometer, 91 billion. The second carriageway is not before us, but let me announce that we also got approval of BPP, but it's not yet in FEC, for CCECC. So both projects we see very serious, improvement in terms of performance, starting from next week. And so we also got approval for design, cost for the total, review and design and the costing of Kata Bridge. Recall that we had been to FEC, and FEC approved that, after going through stakeholders' engagements, and the total recommendation was Kata Bridge can no longer be rehabilitated. It should be demolished, and then new bridge be constructed. So we got approval for a consultant to, do the entire design, and then before we go to the construction, procurement and construction. And so the company name is Engineering Design for Kata Bridge. We get the name of the company is somewhere here. Mrs. Advanced Engineering Company. That's the consultant destination, and that is 5.6 billion. Then we have approval for review and rephasing of the Kano-Kungulam project. That is Bua tax credit project, and it was awarded in 2022 to be done on asphalt. And that's for a total of 132 kilometers on 115 billion. But because of insecurity there, the project could not take off. And so when we came on board, we had to review the project and reface it. So instead of doing the entire 132 kilometers by 2, so we decided to take one carriageway by 3 lanes, of 132 kilometers to be done on concrete by 12 meters, width of the project, with solar light, and of course tree planting and CCTV to cut down on insecurity there. And so 132 kilometers is scoped for 334 billion, and is covering Kano, Jigawa and Katsina states. 130 kilometers, 334 billion. And so the next one we got is the reconstruction of Abuja-Lokoja, route, Abuja-Lokoja route. There are about 7 sections of ongoing projects on this Abuja-Lokoja route. We have 48 kilometers by Trukrit. We have 56 kilometers by Guild. We have, cell construction. That's about 3 kilometers, and 2 other, Sodiji and the Venus, that have about 33 kilometers. But Venus and Sodiji, they are not performing, so we have decided to terminate that contract. Very little contract, but it was one of the worst sections that we gave out 2023, but it could not perform. So we are scoping it out. So this one we have scoped now is 86 kilometers, which we are going to do on concrete. And 5 contractors bid it, and TrueCrete won it. So we're going to have TrueCrete on 48 kilometer section, which was the section that was terminated by previous administration, being handled by Bulletin. And this one is the one we scope. So added to the ongoing projects there now, including JRB 22 kilometer of rehabilitation. That's building the shoulders with concrete, and then now milling the carriageway, and then putting a binder and wearing. So if we do this, then what is left of the entire section of Abuja to Lokoja will be 60 kilometers of route. So there is no contract on that. So we are rescoping it into 2 contracts. And so by the time we award that 60 kilometer, 30-30, then we can beat our chest and say President, has reconstructed the entire section from Abuja, down to Lokoja. And it will be a sight to behold. And I want to thank the President for this. So it's 86 kilometer, 146 billion, full carriageway construction of 3 lanes and 12 meters width, of grade 40 concrete. Another one is, the construction or reconstruction of Ibadan, Ife, Ilesha. And this project is 108 kilometers. It was previously awarded by the previous administration, but nothing tangible was done. Graciously, the governor of Oyo State took out 5 kilometers dualized, and he did a very beautiful work, within that 5 kilometers. So what is left is about 103 kilometers dualized, 2 carriageway. And when I went through that route, I didn't get off for 2 days, and I spent 7 hours on the road. And so we got approval under the New Hope to, do that project, 103 kilometers by 2, and that is 206, kilometer. And, it was, bidded by 5 contractors, for a total sum of 427 billion. And because 3 sections had totally collapsed and beyond mere rehabilitation, when we got BPP approval, certificates of no objection, so we had to approach Mr. President. Please give us approval to award the job, and then to get contractor to intervene on the worst sections, pending when FEC would hold. And that's what we got. And so today we send the entire memo to FEC for ratification of the project. 103 kilometers by 2, 427 billion approved by FEC. And the last one is the award of contract for phase 2 of the rehabilitation of Kefi, Nasarawa, Toto, Abaji Road. And the total contract, the length is 129.3 kilometers, and the total contract sum is 203 billion. The width of the road is 11.55 standard gauge, and good to announce that is also going to come out at Abaji, which is on this Lokoja, route. So if you take from there, you can come through Nasarawa and then come back here, vice versa. So we have 129.3 kilometers, 203 billion naira approved by Federal Executive Council. And so, good to announce, to commend the press. We've been going around. I think we've covered most. Okay. Okay. I will report the matter to the Minister of Information, because he's in charge of our information department. Because that is not the idea. This is my primary constituency, you people. And so you will hear from us through the Honorable Minister. But we are presenting about a minimum of 4 completed projects in each zone. by the 15th of May for President to commission. We are palliative projects. We are talking about major, mega projects.